Hey family, welcome to the Unchanging Podcast. My name is Raquel and I'm one of the youth leaders here at Gracepoint. Today we have two youth leaders with us, one who is a former youth from here. His name is Joe Benjamin III and Kenia Alexis.
How you doing?
Hello, Raquel.
Hi, how are you guys doing?
Doing good. It is so nice actually to be here today. So, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for this retreat coming up. These kids don't have any idea how much fun they're going to have.
Facts. So let's start. How long have you guys been serving in youth?
Well, for me here at Gracepoint, I've been serving for 12 years now. I started serving in youth ministry in 2011, actually.
Oh, yeah. I've been here since January 2021 as a youth leader. And honestly, I've had over 20 years of children's ministry experience. You're talking 4 years old till 6th grade. So I got the call that says, hey, Joe, would you mind serving in youth? We need men. Like men. Like look at me like we need men. And so I'm like, oh, okay. I'll try with the older kids. You know, they're almost adults now. You know, I didn't think I'd really fit in. You know, they're different than the 4-year-olds I'm used to. But so far, so good. I feel like God's really called me here.
It's amazing how God shifts your walk.
Yeah.
But it's a blessing to have you with us.
Thanks.
For sure. And for you, Kenya?
Well, I've been serving here at Gracepoint, as I mentioned before, since 2011, and it has been great. I actually love serving in youth ministry. I love to see their enthusiasm, their energy. They really cannot sit still. And it's just so great because in a way, it's like bringing the child inside of you and keeping it alive. So serving in youth ministry is fantastic. I actually love it.
Awesome. Now, Joe, I just wanted to touch on how you said you got the call that they needed men.
Men. Mm-hmm.
Has much changed since that call as far as leadership and the need in this ministry?
Well, I'm not the only one, but we still need more men. In fact, if you look at the demographics of the youth themselves, like we actually have more boys than gals. I don't know if in many churches where that's the case, but we can still use more men.
All right. Sounds good. Men. We need more leaders to help us with this, guys. So how many retreats have you gone when you guys were youth?
0.
Actually, I've been to quite a few. Since I've been here, I've actually been to at least 10. I think I've only missed one since I've been a youth leader here.
And me, I came here as a 12-year-old. So I was just coming on. Our family went to a church in the city, and they didn't really have youth retreats. And when we came here, I was sort of new, and I didn't feel like I really belonged here. Youth has gotten a lot different since I was a youth.
Okay. So was that a decision that you made not going to a retreat, or was it a decision that your parents made?
It's a 2-part decision, I would say. First of all, I didn't even know that there were youth retreats. Second, I didn't feel welcomed, if I can say it like that.
Why do you say that?
Honestly, we actually came, myself and my older sister, who has me by about 3 years. So you say maybe a 12 and a 15-year-old. When we came to, it was called New City Gospel back then. I know we were Gracepoint now. We felt like it was already full. Like even the youth pastor, I thought we should carry around mirrors to make sure we weren't invisible. If we were talking to one-on-one with even one of the youth who were our age, if it was just one-on-one, they would talk to us. But if their friends were around, we didn't exist. Like it's even hard to get eye contact from some people. Like that's what I remember. Like I know how it is to be a sojourner and an alien for sure.
So how did that experience help you become a leader now?
Oh, I think that helped me a little bit, to be honest. I mean, I don't want any of the youth to feel the way myself and my sister did. I mean, you show up and you have expectations. You know, people are telling you belong here, and you come, and it's like, we're kind of good. You can exist, but leave us alone. I don't want anybody to feel like that. So when I see a new person come, I want to make sure that they're engaging and that they're happy.
All right.
Can I actually say something? Because when you asked the question, I actually thought you were talking about youth leaders. So I've been to, as I mentioned, about 10. But as a youth, I remember I went to like more than 20. And that's where I met most of my friends at church and at youth retreats, because we got to know each other deeper. And it was just great. As a matter of fact, I'm still friends with many of them. One who was the same age as me, and she is actually the pastor's daughter. We are still friends today. So I do think that being part of youth ministry and going on retreats is really a lot of fun, and it's a way to connect for people who actually feel alone or like that they don't belong. When they go on a retreat, they actually will be able to meet people and feel welcome because you have so much free time at that moment.
Okay. So, Joe, what would you recommend or suggest to any of our youth who's hesitant or feeling the way you used to feel back then, that who doesn't come to our youth but saying, well, I don't want to come because they don't see me because they have too many kids or there's too many people there?
Right, they're afraid it's going to be like school, maybe
Right.
run into some cliques,
Right.
or I
Just
don't have
one
any
more.
friends here. Well, I'd say that any new youth, it's easy to feel alone or isolated when you come into, let's say, a setting with a lot of people. Could be a concert, could be a lunchroom full of people, a new classroom. But I'd say just start doing something that you like to do. We have so much going on. We have board games, we have basketball, we have people drawing. If they just be themselves,
Right.
and they get caught being themselves, they'll make friends. Like that, their interests will show them their friends.
That is
That is
100% true. I agree.
talking about being authentic.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing you can do better than being yourself, and we see that. Like we encourage that, and we actually we look at you guys, the youth. We look at you guys, and we know we want to get to know you ourselves, not just because we want to get to know you, and we do, but we want to know what you're into, because there'll be other people who feel just like you may have when you come in. It's like, oh boy, wow, big youth group. We might have 50, 60 people here sometimes. So, and on a retreat, there could be more. Mm-hmm. So if you just engage it with something, you will find someone, definitely more than someone, who's willing to join you.
Absolutely. Now, and you say you never went on a retreat, so this is more for Kenia. How was your first retreat ever? How was that experience?
Wow, you're bringing me back, because I've been a youth a long time ago. But my very, very first retreat was actually great, because the youth leader, as Joe was saying, like, if you're feeling like outcasted, she actually came and embraced me. And then she brought me to the other kids that already had, some friends, and told them, make her feel welcome, make her feel part of the group, because we are a family. And I just thinking about it right now, it brought me to that moment. And the youth leader at that time for me, her name is Rosemary. And she was just great. She just asked me, what do you like to do? Do you know how to swim? Because at the retreat center, they had a swimming pool. And she goes, just find other people that do, as Joe was saying, things that you like to do. So then like that, you're not alone. And one thing that I've always enjoyed doing is reading. So it was also a moment in which they introduced me on how to read the Bible as well. So it was just always finding something to do, and one of the challenges was always to meet someone I did not know. So like that, they will get to know me, I will get to know them, and then we will become friends. So once we got home, my sisters actually came along as well, and they've always been like my best friends, but now we met other people that became part of our, group of friends.
Right. Now, as adults and as leaders, how was your first experience as leaders in a retreat?
Wow, that was, you know, as you know, as a youth, I wasn't on a retreat, but so that was actually my first retreat. That wasn't an adult retreat. So my first youth retreat was as a youth leader. And that was so much fun. So much fun. So, I mean, I'll deal with the trips. We have to go to museums if I can just go on a retreat. But it was great. We played games. We ate. We played more games. Even when it was time to do Bible study, the environment was relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't work. It wasn't a chore. It wasn't as good as sitting in service is. It's not sitting in a pew. It's like a whole weekend of free time.
Mm-hmm.
Even when there's structure involved, like we're doing this or we're doing that. It's fun, this or that. It's like mealtime is fun. Outside time is fun. Bedtime, they don't even want to go to bed. It's fun, you know. To get them from talking all night. So you're gonna be tired. You're not gonna make breakfast in the morning, and they might have to drag you to breakfast, right? And that's fun too. So it's amazing.
Yeah, they definitely don't know what the word sleep means.
I actually love retreats as well. And as a leader, I love it too, because then you get to level with them as well in the fun and all of that. Like it's not like on a Wednesday night when you are trying to keep that structure of like pay attention, take away the phones so that they can actually listen to the word that the Lord has for them. But at the retreat, if there's a challenge, you can do that challenge with them, and you can create groups. And yes, those late nights are for real. Like sleep is overrated during retreats. There's no sleep.
Facts.
And then actually also there are times when that's when they go deeper into getting to know the Lord. So they have lots of questions. And so you are there to hear them out and, help them do that walk. Because once they made that commitment to get to know the Lord deeper, then you know that this is a life that has been changed. And that's what a retreat is all about, is for that youth to have that encounter, to know Jesus at a personal level as their best friend. And as a leader, that is like the best gift that you can have.
That's true. So what have been some of the questions that the young girls have asked you during the retreat?
Ooh. There have been many. Some of them have been like, oh, how can I have a deeper relationship with God? Or how do you know that what is my purpose? Or they will ask, when is the right time to get married? Or how did you meet your husband? Where did you meet your husband? I mean, it goes deep. When they really want to know more and they want to know you as the person, not just as the leader, they ask you really deep personal questions. Many of them actually also ask questions of like, how do you know that you were called and that God spoke to you to be a youth leader? Or how do you know that the person that you're married to is the one that God chose for you? And some of those answers can be very easy. You go like, well, you know what? I met my husband at school at a Christian setting, but that doesn't mean that was, the right thing to do at the time, right? Because a lot of times you think you met the person and it's just like you have an infatuation. So once you get to know the Lord and once you get to hear God's voice, then you know how to make those right choices. And then like, oh, how do you get to know that deeper relationship with God? Well, by reading the word, by spending time in prayer, by seeing, like, at one point you used to watch certain movies and now you go like, oh, actually, I don't like what that is showing. I don't like the vocabulary that is being used. I don't like the way the woman is being, presented, because God has called us to be, daughters of the King. We are royalty. And once you know that your worth is more than, something to look at, but actually someone to look at, and you know that, so those are some of the questions that they go to. Like, they really go deep, and you go like, how old are you again? So they can be challenging. But when you are in the Word, and you just let them know that, you are going to face situations, but that God is always there with you, and to surround yourself with godly friends, then you will be able to make good choices.
That was good. Now, what can a young lady expect for a first time on her retreat?
Oh, wow. That's a really good question. So much. They can expect to have fun. They can expect to develop friendship with her peers. She can expect to have a deeper relationship with Jesus, because there will be downtime, and she can actually call out a leader if she has questions that she wants to know God, in a deeper level. There is so many opportunities that she will have. I mean, from doing the sports activities that will be there, from doing games and whatnot, but she will also have the opportunity to develop deeper relationship, not just with new friends, but also with Jesus.
That you said it all there. Now, Joe, what can young men expect for the first time on their retreat?
Besides a lot of food and a lot of fun, fellowship. Guys tend to fellowship in different ways than the ladies. They may not talk as much, but every time somebody gets smacked with a pillow or thrown a ball, or they look over and see someone's eating more and they load up their plate more and they compete in that way, there's a real bond going on. Right? There's just so much fun then. That's how guys get deeper in relationships. They have fun together. They play sports. They talk about video games. They talk about comics. They stay up all night telling each other about their hopes and their dreams, what they're going to be when they grow up. I mean, it even takes me back being with them while they just be themselves and really, really deeply get to know somebody in a meaningful way.
Amen. Now, can we just touch on last year's retreat for a bit? Can you just tell me one highlight of last year's retreat?
Well, we after we had a guest speaker, and he laid down a great message for everyone. But we split into guys and gals, and each youth leader that was there, I know with the boys, we had 3 or 4 youth leaders or people. So I think we had 3 youth leaders and someone who went there to help, or youth pastor, 2 youth leaders, and somebody who went there who helped us out tremendously. And we each took a group of boys, like 1/4 of the boys, and we really dove and dug deep into what was being spoken. And we've seen some hearts change on the spot. And the questions that were asked and the way, I mean, it's fun being there, but there are times where they just sober you up. And there's so many, just like, I felt like I've seen at least 4 or 5 guys become men in a weekend. It's amazing.
Awesome. And for you, Kenia?
Well, remember when I said that there has been one retreat that I didn't go to? That was the one that I did not go to. But what I can say is the reaction from the people when they came back. I remember the girls in my community group, they were like, "Oh, we missed you." And, I had a family engagement, which is why I couldn't be there. But it was so great to see with my accent, it's always a hard word to say, but enthusiasm, it's that they brought back. And they said that they went deep into like personal things, because as Joe just finished saying, that they were divided into groups and they were raw in the conversation that they had with the wife of the guest speaker. Is that who she was, correct? Mm-hmm. And they said that it was just amazing to be able to open up and to just be real with the questions that they had. But I can also say then to the retreat that I went before, and that was set apart. And they learned to stand on their belief. So although I'm not able to speak about the retreat last year personally, because I wasn't there, I can speak to the one before and see how they made that decision to be set apart, not for themselves, but for Christ. I thought that was pretty amazing.
Awesome. Now, this is a question for the both of you. What are some of the challenges that you have faced during a retreat?
It's so much fun. It's hard to remember the challenges. But, challenges. Keeping track of everybody. We had a great space, playground, meal hall, the bedrooms, the bunks, I guess you'd call them, and a lot of woods. My biggest challenge is probably waking everyone up who didn't sleep so they can eat. Not that they wouldn't eat again, because it's buffet breakfast, buffet lunch, buffet dinner, but it's for me, keeping track of everyone.
And for me, I guess some of the challenges is are making sure that they follow the rules, because when you're having so much fun, sometimes then you forget that there are rules to follow. And also making sure that they kept the word. Some of it is like, don't use your phone during service, don't fall asleep during service. And that they didn't sleep, so you kind of feel bad and you don't want to wake them up sometimes when they fall out. But then the whole thing that we're there is not just to have fun, but to really have an encounter with our Creator. So I guess some of those challenges are that, like trying to make sure that, yes, we're having fun, but let's make sure to bring us back to the focus, which is to have that relationship and encounter with Jesus.
Amen. Now, how has your perspective changed from being a youth to being a youth leader?
Well, for me, the perspective has changed in the sense that I'm not a youth anymore. So I need to behave like an adult and make sure that even when I'm having fun, I keep it to the standard of being a youth leader, because you want to make sure that the youth know that level of respect. If we bring it down to the same level as they are, then they would not know the boundaries. So we need to make sure that the boundaries are there, because if something happens and you're behaving just like they are, then they're not going to take you seriously. And for me, at the end of the day, I just basically want them to know that I'm here for them as someone was there for me. I have to say her name. Doña Albertina Quiñones was the woman who introduced me to the Lord and brought me to church week after week. And it was because of her that I have a relationship with the Lord. And then the great and amazing youth leaders that my church had at the retreats helped me then know God, come back home energized, fire up. And that same investment that this lady had for me and the youth leaders that I had, I want the youth to have. And I want to be that vessel that God uses for others to know Him and to encounter Him. And I just noticed that I keep saying encounter, and it's because that's what God wants from us. He wants us to encounter Him, not to follow all these rules and all of that, but to know Him, because once we get to know Him, then we get to enjoy life and enjoy it to the fullest, because that's what He wants. So that's the perspective that I have and that I want our youth to have, to know Jesus as their best friend, because someone invested in my life. I want to invest in their lives so that they get to know Him.
What advice would you give the youth for this upcoming retreat?
To not miss out. To not miss out on what the Lord has for them. A lot of times we come with certain expectations, and it's good to have expectations, but to come with a hungry heart, to know what the Lord has to say to them and to put it into practice. Because when we allow God to speak to us and we receive that, then we are able to act upon it. And it's not talking for perfection, because a lot of times people go, oh, being a Christian is so hard. And in reality, it is challenging because we are surrounded in a world that is telling us otherwise. But when we have God by our side, we are able to be stronger, we are able to stand firm, and we are able to see the attacks that are surrounding us. Because let me tell you, we are in an attack every single day, whether we see it or not. But when we have God on our side, we are able to withstand the storm and be stronger because He is with us.
Amen. And Joe, what advice will you give the youth for this upcoming retreat?
Whew. Pack toiletries. Right? Don't forget your toothbrush. I know you want to bring those games, bring a ball or something like that. But also, snacks, don't bother. You'll have more than enough when you're there. And maybe a little first aid kit if you get a little wild. Honestly, and a lot of what Kenia said, you come hungry, come expecting, right? You're not there. It's fun, but that's not the only thing you're going to get. If you come expecting to meet the Lord, you will meet the Lord there.
Awesome. And this is for both of you. Why do you guys serve the youth ministry?
Well, I know the youth are worth it. That's for me. I know what it was like for me being a youth, especially bouncing around. We moved to the county, and for 5 years we were going back and forth to the old church in Queens, which was about an hour trip. It was hard to really plug in anywhere, so we didn't feel like we really belonged there. And I tried to plug in here. I guess I should have made a few retreats because I didn't really feel like I plugged in here either. So to make everybody feel like they have a place to call home, like there's a seat for them at the table, that's why I'm here.
And for me, I serve in youth ministry because, as I mentioned before, someone invested in my life. And because of that investment, I know Jesus. And I want them to know Jesus as the one who is able to do it all. No matter the circumstances, no matter where we're at, Jesus is like the answer to anything that you are going through. And I want them to know that even though we are leaders, we are there for them. We are there to cheer them on. We are there to love on them. It doesn't matter what they're going through. Just as Jesus said, come as you are. They should come to youth and to the retreat as they are, expecting that God is going to do great things. So that's why I love serving in youth ministry, because I remember what it was to be a youth and the fun that I had and the friends that I made, and I want them to have that. Because once again, once you have that, you will not want to let it go. It doesn't matter what happens in your life. When you have Jesus, it's just like, it's the best feeling. I don't even know how to put it into words because it's just so amazing how God can just meet you and encourage you and lift you up. And when you have true friends, you don't want to let them go.
Awesome, Kenia. Thank you guys. Thank you for being here. It is a pleasure serving along you guys. Thank you.
Sure thing.
Love you.
Well, that's a wrap for today. Thank you for watching the Unchanging Podcast. God bless.